Today we're going to be looking at some AI generated textures. Starting out, we've got the sapphire ore, and I wanted it to look a little bit different than this diamond ore texture. So what I did is it originally gave me this, and I asked it again to make it a little more unique. We've got Gemini over here. This is with the Nano Banana Pro Fast model, and all of these are free. However, they do have rate limits, so you can only use them so much. I asked it to make it more unique, and it ended up giving me something very similar. Over here, we've got Grok. I like Grok a lot because it gives you a lot of quantity. It didn't end up making the best sapphire ore. However, I did like some of the other sprites it made, and I think one of the main reasons why is it didn't just take this and resprite it. I think standalone this ore looks very good, but one problem is that it doesn't fit into Minecraft very well. And then over here, we've got Quen, which is a local AI model, and we'll go into those a little more later in the video. So as you can see, none of these ores blend in the best. And I think that what you need to do is you need to take the ore and then you need to resprite it a little bit. So if we look at this diamond ore, especially from this angle, it almost blends in completely, whereas these, they don't really blend in as much. Now we're going to take this 3D image and we're going to turn it into a texture. This is a very similar technique as when you take a photo of your driver's license and then it takes that rectangle and it transforms it. So we're going to open up the image, and as you can see, we've got 4 points we can select, and that's going to give us a preview image. Now, we want to make sure that there's no gaps here, and we also want to make sure that the preview image is straight. So we're going to click on this, and it looks pretty straight, so we're going to fix this. And we're going to try one more point. And just for an example, we're going to move this, and as you can see, as you move it, it's not straight, and then you can tell using these lines. Okay, so we're going to move this back, save it, preview the block, and we're going to use the front for every side, and then we're going to create this file. So this will create the block state in the block model. Sometimes AI will give you a photo which is just one face of the block. These are really easy to use. You just need to cut that out, and then you need to resize that into a 512 by 512 image or some other multiple of 16. If you use a larger texture, it's going to take up more space. If you use something that's 512 by 512, this is like using an HD resource pack. That said, I don't have a good way of taking these textures and downsizing them into low resolution photos. Another thing you can get are unrolled blocks. So this is when it gives you 6 different faces, or in this case we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And what you do is you can ask an AI to generate something like a texture with multiple different faces. You tell it that you want a cube unrolled into a plane. This method works really well with Nano Banana Pro, however it doesn't work as well with ChatGPT. It also doesn't work as well with the Nano Banana Fast model. So what model should you use? I'd recommend making a list of all the textures you want, and then every day use all your different free generations. And then you can put them in Minecraft and see if you're happy with them. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that even just the Nano Banana model and the Nano Banana Pro model have some massive quality differences. So here's a few different images, and as you can see, just the difference between the Pro and the Fast version of this model is massive. When it comes to local models can be hard to use, and they're also hard to set up, and I'd only recommend this if you have a good graphics card. You need at least 8 gigs of VRAM just to load up the model, and then after that, you're going to have to use an optimized model. So I used the Quen Nunchaku model, and what they did is they took the Quen model and they pretty much optimized it so it'll run faster with a slight performance degradation. I've made a lot of mistakes creating textures, and I'm going to go over the big ones. The first one is fuzziness. When you take images and you do a perspective transformation, or you just resize them into a square, you're going to get fuzziness and blurriness. I don't have a good way to solve this. However, I know some imaging editing software have tools which allow you to sharpen images. Another big problem with some of the AI generated textures is lighting. If you look at this furnace block, you can see the whole block is lit up. However, when we compare it to this block, you can see that the whole face is dark. And the reason for this is the original photo had a shadow in it, and so when I did that perspective transformation, it took that shadow and it put it into the texture. And then finally there's depth. So all these different blocks, they're 3D, and I wanted something with a see-through panel so that it'd look nice. However, it added depth to the image and it doesn't really map well onto a 2D texture. Another important thing is coherence. And this texture has a lot of different sides and they don't really fit well together. and it makes you think that the texture is just cobbled together from a bunch of different pieces. The last blocks I generated were these space-ors, and I thought Gemini Pro's space-or looked the best, and Grok and also ChatGPT's space-ors didn't fit into Minecraft very well. There's always new AI models coming out, so I definitely recommend trying any new AI models when creating your textures. And there might also be better ways of taking these AI outputs and turning them into textures in the future.